Hello friends, this is Kik, and today on our episode we have Tesla, which has fired almost the entire Supercharger team, the first official music video created with the help of the Sora neural network, the AI firmware Rabbit R1, which turned out to be a simple Android application, the Polestar 5 electric car prototype, which was charged to 80% in just 10 minutes, a billionaire interviewing his AI clone, and SpaceX opening reservations for vacations to the ISS, the Moon and Mars. All this and much more right now. Let's get started. We'll start today's episode with Tesla, which has fired almost the entire Supercharger team. Tesla reported that Rebecca Tanuki, senior director of the Supercharger group, was relieved of her position on Tuesday morning, and about 500 employees suffered the same fate. This became so resonant that Elon Musk reluctantly had to comment on the situation, explaining that Tesla will continue to expand its charging network, but at a slower pace in cases where it concerns new locations. Existing charging stations will need to increase their efficiency by increasing utilization, and in this matter, cooperation with other automakers that have access to the Tesla Supercharger network will help. Tesla has 57,579 charging stations distributed across 6,249 geographic locations worldwide. Last quarter, the company built a record number of new charging stations. Now it is preparing to move towards their more efficient use, which is one of the measures aimed at reducing operating expenses and capital expenditures. We've already told you that Tesla has announced massive layoffs worldwide, which could affect 10 to 20% of employees, totaling more than 14,000 people. We don't know about you, but it seems to us that things are not going well for the company. But let's leave Tesla with its issues for now and take a look at the very first official music video created with the help of the Sora neural network from Openair. The plot for the video for the song by an American musician under the pseudonym Washed Out was conceived by screenwriter and director Paul Triolo, while the videomaker was the AI, which had its own vision of what was happening on the screen. The video for the track The Hardest Part lasts 4 minutes and consists of 55 short segments selected by Sora from an initial 700. They were stitched together in Adobe Premiere, creating the effect of a continuous zoom. This idea, as the director told his followers on the X social network, came to him 10 years ago, but he only implemented it now. During the creation of the video, the musician had to write prompts with details about the image itself, as well as about the shooting angles and character movements. At the same time, the director used only the capabilities of the model for converting text into video rather than ready-made images generated by third-party AI. The performer himself said that he is very interested in further using modern technologies in his creativity. Meanwhile, engineers at iFixit conducted a disassembly of the Rabbit R1 and Humane AI pin devices, intended, according to their creators, to replace smartphones. The Rabbit R1 is disassembled from the back panel. It needs to be heated and pried with something flat. Underneath are two motors responsible for the operation of the rotating dial and the front camera, the motherboard and battery, and on the other side of the case is the device's display. The design of the Humane AI pin, according to the engineer's assessment, resembles an Apple Watch. After removing the cover with the wireless charging coil, you need to disconnect the battery, but there is no tab to remove it, so you need to use alcohol or another solvent. Under the hood are located the speaker and microphone, laser projector, cameras, as well as light and proximity sensors. iFixit did not evaluate the repairability of gadgets in conventional scores, but noted that it is low, mostly because the batteries are difficult to remove. The battery capacity is small, and they will likely need to be replaced relatively often. But the main complaint of experts about the devices was their price, considering the low functionality of the hardware itself. They even concluded that both of these devices are simply not needed, and their role would be better suited to applications for regular smartphones. And as it turns out, the guys were actually quite right. For example, the so-called AI firmware Rabbit R1 turned out to be nothing more than a regular Android application. Online demonstrations showed a standard Android app that could be launched on a smartphone and get the same functions without buying a separate device. The Rabbit R1 app allows you to configure the smartphone as if it were the R1 gadget, and also create a rabbit hole account and start communicating with the AI. Moreover, the hardware button of the device corresponds to the volume up button of the smartphone. Based on this, it can be assumed that Rabbit R1 is an Android gadget with a pre-installed application, rather than a completely original development. The creators of Rabbit R1 immediately commented, stating that the R1 firmware interface is not an APK application. According to them, Rabbit OS operates in the cloud with very unique modifications and low-level software. They also noted that third-party software cannot access the cloud resources of the language model, and the use of these unofficial Android clients is associated with significant risks, such as data theft by malicious actors. Well, the excuses are not very convincing, although maybe they are right. Help us understand. We are eagerly awaiting your comments. Moving on, the prototype of the Polestar 5 electric car charged from 10% to 80% in just 10 minutes, and this became possible thanks to the new battery technology from the Israeli startup StoreDot. This is the world's first demonstration of this technology on a production vehicle, unlike previous laboratory tests of individual battery cells. StoreDot's technology has an energy density equivalent to NMC cells, but uses elements with a predominance of silicon. This means that the batteries do not require a special cooling system. Experimental modules improve mechanical properties and cooling ability while maintaining or reducing weight. In addition, when developing the XFC battery technology, primary attention is paid to recyclability and serviceability. Polestar tests have shown that StoreDot's technology is compatible with existing infrastructure of fast charging stations with a power of 350 kW and above. Furthermore, tests confirm that StoreDot's solution can be integrated with existing vehicles. And since we've started talking about startups, let's continue with them. We've previously shown you Moonwalkers, the exoskeletons from the startup Shift Robotics that even made it into Time magazine's list of best inventions of 2023. They are designed for those who want to walk or run 2 to 3 times faster without much effort. And now sales of this devilish footwear have started. They say that while wearing Moonwalkers, it feels like walking on an escalator. Different operating modes provide different acceleration options. For example, if a person walks at a speed of 4 to 5 km/h without robotic footwear, with Moonwalkers, their speed will exceed 10 km/h. With a strong desire, it can reach 24 km/h. The device's charge is sufficient to cover an average of 10 km. The manufacturer specifies that there are weight restrictions for users. The maximum weight is 100 kilos. The walkers are waterproof and dust-proof according to IP54 standard. They charge in about 1.5 hours via USB-C. The allowable charging power reaches 65 W. Moonwalkers are available for purchase on the manufacturer's website for $1,400. Meanwhile, billionaire Reid Hoffman, American entrepreneur and co-founder of LinkedIn, shared a video on his YouTube channel in which he talks to his digital clone created using AI. The video instantly went viral on the internet and in the media. The digital clone was named Reid AI. It looks and talks just like the original. The clone accurately replicates Hoffman's voice, facial expressions, mood, and mannerisms. AI algorithms analyzed photos and videos of Hoffman to create his exact replica. It turned out to be too realistic. For instance, in the video, there was a moment when the AI avatar wiped its nose while talking. It also nodded, shrugged, and copied Hoffman's facial expressions several times. The digital clone even seemed to sigh between sentences, making it more human-like. The entrepreneur clarified that he does not see AI clones as replacements for people. Rather, they are powerful amplifiers of people, emphasized Reid. What exactly he meant by that, we don't know. And now let's take to the skies. Joby Aviation has completed testing of its pre-production eVTOL aircraft and is moving on to certifying its serial prototypes. After initial funding and a grant in California, Joby began establishing eVTOL production in the USA. Now the company has officially completed a 4-year cycle of eVTOL testing using 2 pre-production prototypes. During this time, more than 1,500 flights were made, covering a total distance of over 53,000 kilometers. Out of the total number of flights, more than 100 were piloted, which is an important step towards future certification of commercial air taxi flights. After completing testing of the pre-production eVTOL prototype, Joby will focus on flights using its serial prototypes, preparing for the start of commercial test flights on the path to full certification. And what would Kik be without space? SpaceX has begun accepting applications from all those interested in traveling beyond our home planet. Space tourists are offered the opportunity to visit low Earth orbit and the International Space Station, and in the foreseeable future, the Moon and Mars. For flights to orbit and the ISS, the Dragon capsule spacecraft will be used in conjunction with the Falcon 9 rocket, while missions to the Moon and Mars are planned using the Starship spacecraft. The company reports that the trip to low Earth orbit will last from 3 to 6 days. In turn, visits to the ISS are scheduled for 10 days. There is no exact information about trips to the Moon and Mars yet, but the company states that in the first case, the journey for 12 passengers will last a week. There are no details about trips to the Red Planet yet. The ticket price has not been announced either, but NASA representatives have revealed that they paid the company approximately $55 million for a seat aboard the Dragon capsule for their astronauts. Companies like Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic offer more budget-friendly trips, but their flight profiles and spacecraft differ significantly from SpaceX's solutions. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated on high-tech news. Peace to your home.